Yeah, I knew that I'd be something, made something out of nothing. The one you ain't seen coming. I need it, want it, and I don't wanna leave, so I leave a legacy. Never leave, never leave, never leave, so I leave a legacy. They meant to live the legend, I've been that. Why chase clock when I can make an impact? I break out the matrix, in fact, I'm the one that'll change the game and win that. Comprehend that, get the strap, I want the power. Build my own castle, island and tower. Looking at the clock, cause my time, so it's now. Never to be somebody that I can be proud of. Profit over gossip, you can spill all the tea that you please, you lose and still. I move with a purpose to fulfill, so what's a rumor mill, super million accolades and plaques to my name, made everlasting with fame. Wanna be a star, better write me in the history books as an idol with my chapter engraved and it says, I knew that I'd be something, made something out of nothing. The one you ain't seen coming. I need it, want it, and I don't wanna leave.
Welcome to the Philadelphia Asian American Film Festival live stream. My name is Eric Hong, and I'm a programmer and grant writer for PAF. I am also the executive director of the Music of Asian America Research Center, which is one of PAF's many community partners. I will be moderating with Chetna this afternoon's filmmaker Q&A with the creators of the feature documentary Once Upon a Village. We'll be taking audience questions, so please make sure to type your questions in the comment section. So let's go around the virtual room and have our guests introduce themselves and their film. Srishti, you want to start?
Hello, my name is Srishti, and I'm the director and co-producer of Once Upon a Village, Tha Gaon. It's a documentary film which is based in my own ancestral village. It talks about the story of these two women who are living in a nearly abandoned village. And my village where I come from, it's been facing this like large-scale migration for last like 5 to 10 years. There are around on census, we have on record around over 1,000 villages which has completely gone empty. So those were the reasons why I began the journey to make a work on back home on my own village.
Great.
Hi, my name is Bhamati. I'm the editor and co-producer for Tha Gaon, Once Upon a Village. And Srishti and I have been friends, and we ended up working on a film. And I've been working as an editor for a while, and my area of interest is also around displacement and migration. And it was an opportunity to work with the film, and she's already told you about the film. And we have now finished, and we're happy to screen it and be here. Thanks.
Well, thank you so much for sharing your beautiful film with us. So when did the idea of making a film about Semla begin? When did you get the idea?
I'm so happy you say Semla.
Oh, Srishti's frozen on my screen. I don't know if...
Around 2000. Can you hear me? Yeah.
Yes.
Around 2014 is when, like I said, the migration, this large-scale migration where so many villages are empty. There was a lot of conversation back home in my own family. Everybody was referring to how this village is empty, this village is empty. Our village is they were referring to, they were talking about our own relatives who were leaving the village. So there was a lot of that. So it somewhere in the back of my mind, there was this idea that maybe that's one of the stories that I should seriously work on telling in a film. But then what really made it concrete for me was meeting Leela Devi, the old lady in the film. And meeting her was just I met her and her home and where she lived and how she was. It was just beautiful. Who also spoke about the place and where she comes from, and her storytelling from very differently than I ever knew. Also, like because she's like
Mhm.
now she's 87, I think, and she comes from a generation of women that we don't necessarily get to hear very often. And it was like even the way she'll tell her story was very different that I had ever heard. So I mean, yeah, meeting her was like it was, yeah, it was like the thing that pushed me to be like, okay, there is a film I should be working on. So yeah.
So what sparked the exodus in around 2014?
Um, I don't think it's like it's been 2014. It was there for a couple of decades, but I think um, as like the climate was also changing, and that is a major reason why, like, I mean, aspirations change. In 1990s is when Indian economy opened up, and suddenly like a lot of product came in. We became a consumeristic society. Aspirations changed in terms of what people wanted, and people wanted jobs, and people wanted education to be able to get good jobs. And but at the same time, because of climate change, I feel like the people weren't, it wasn't as easy for them to continue being farmers, so it was
Mhm.
both. I think it was a mix of both, and like a couple of decade of like that, and like it kept pushing people to go and leave.
Mhm. Yeah. So how often did you visit the village growing up, or were you ever there, or?
So actually, 2012 is when my immediate family, my own cousin, she left, because before that she used to live in the village, and then her government job got permanent, and she had to go to a bigger town for that. So like, of course, because of that she left, and that was my last my own family that like left uh,
Mhm.
the village. Before that, we used to go like for summer vacations. So yeah, like summer vacations and visiting family. But like I said, like last two last decades specifically, like slowly, like I know that my family kept leaving, and everybody in my home were like, oh, even she left, even they left. So it was like this whole big idea of nostalgia, especially from my father who grew up in the village, of like how like that's getting lost. So there was a lot of that narrative going on in my own home,
Mhm.
and not only in my own home, in the community as well, because like whole of Uttarakhand, the region, is also like was collectively going through that emotion of like, oh, our villages are going empty. So
Mhm. Yeah. So, Bhamati, when did you get involved in this film, and how much did you know about this region when you got involved?
So I had traveled to Uttarakhand before, and Srishti and I have been friends for a long time. So I have visited her home,
Mhm.
but I had gone to Rishikesh, which is a sort of big town in Uttarakhand. And what is happening in the villages is something that I hadn't known until longer conversations about Shrishti's film. And she'd been working on the film for 2 to 3 years before I kind of got involved in 2017. And I had gone to Rishikesh and I had visited her home, and I had seen the villages and the villages
Oh,
and
we we might have
we
lost.
got Bhamati.
Okay, so maybe while we wait for her for internet to
I'm
revive,
sorry. Yeah.
no,
Hi.
no worries. Um,
Yeah.
oh, she's
I
back.
Yeah, we're back. Okay, yeah.
Yes.
So yeah, in 2017 is when I kind of got involved. She asked me to kind of come see some of the footage, and the first one I saw was in fact that shot of Golu throwing stones at the Baheda tree, and
Mhm.
and something about that that moment just felt like I was instantly captured, and then hearing stories about what's happening in the villages of Uttarakhand, the terrain, all of that was very fascinating to me. And the story that Srishti wanted to tell was something that I felt. Because Uttarakhand is also, and Srishti will speak more about it, it's a very underdocumented kind of, there aren't too many stories that come out of Uttarakhand, and historically also it's an underdocumented region. So what's happening currently in the villages there, in the hills there, and it's a predominantly hill state. So it felt like it's a very good and important project to be a part of. And then when we finally started editing, I met Leela Devi, and it was just very, very nice. Yeah.
Great. Yeah. So, Srishti, you said earlier that one of your inspiration for the film is meeting this older woman in the village. Did you know of her before? So
No,
go ahead.
like one day when I don't know why I went to the village. I don't recall it very correctly, I think, but I went to the village and maybe for like a week to visit. And like I said, there was this idea in the back of my head about like making a film on migration. Um, but like meeting her was like, so you saw her house, right, in the film.
Yep.
And so I was walking, so because um, it's all, these mountains are like you have to walk long distances to go to your village, and you have to walk to go from one house to the other. The motorable roads like are like a kilometer or two away from your village, so there is a lot of walking that one does through like now abandoned farmlands and also forest that comes in the middle of it. So I was just walking from this one motorable road to my family's house, and that's when I saw this lady, and she like asked me who I am, and we started chatting, and and her house was very cinematic. She, as a character, was so cinematic. Like it just like drew me in to that, and so yeah, I met her for the first time in 2014, and we started shooting the film in 2015. So yeah.
Yeah, great. So how did you introduce the idea of making a film about them, and what were their reactions to your idea of making a film about them?
To the characters. Mm. So, so Leela Devi, the older lady, is very interesting. Okay, so she lives in a house. She doesn't have a mirror. She doesn't have a phone. She doesn't have TV. She doesn't have an idea of self-image. So, like for her, like yeah, like it's like I was always like being like whatever young person who's like struggled a lot, all of us, like right, like struggling with your body image, struggling with like this whole identity of like, oh, how I do, I like how I look and all of those things. And then I meet her who's like, who doesn't care, she comes from a different like idea of like how she perceives herself or sees herself, when she like even says that you're beautiful, and her work is beautiful. She finds people beautiful to look at, like with their face and body. She's always meaning like how beautiful that person is as how they behave when you meet them. So like it's so okay. So like because of that like whole very different way of living and being than what I or like a lot of like modern people know how we perceive ourselves and see ourselves. She also had a very different reaction to the camera. Like she like mostly would like she'll comment a little bit on like the camera. She'll be like, "Oh, you're making some photographs on me, and you'll print like." Basically, she thought like I was going to take her pictures and put it on top of like sari selling advertisements. so, So she was just like, "Oh, this is how you're gonna make money out of this, is like by making like putting it on sari and all." So, but yeah, like
So sweet.
after like it was a joke, and like with Leela Devi, like I feel like we became so close that those, yeah, like there is a lot of trust and friendship that happened with her. So anyway, so that's how, so she saw it, but like she would forget, like she would let it be the camera and like just be there. And I think she was very happy that she had company with me, and I mean I felt very happy to have her because she was an amazing person to just like learn things from. And I think Bhamati can also say we would um, like while editing, like we would especially her scenes, like uh, we were just like really digging that character so often. So yeah.
Yeah.
What
Yeah, for
about
sure.
Golu and some of the other characters that the people who what were their
Yeah.
reactions?
So, Golu, again, like I was today, actually, I was thinking, and I saw a little bit of excerpts of the film today to refresh myself. And she took her time. She took, like with Leela Devi, like it was an immediate, instant friendship and like opening up in front of the camera. And but Golu took her time because she's a younger person. She knows, like I think, what camera does and what how her image can be projected. But like we shot her in two schedules, one in 2016 and then 17, and a little bit later in 18 also. So I think it took her, like the final interview also was 2017, after already knowing her and working with her. After a year again, next schedule when we went and shot with her. So she took her time. She opened up with with taking her time, which is of course like it's the right of the person, of course, how they want to open up in front of the camera. Or but it was. She was someone we struggled with in terms of access, for sure, because also not because of her, but because of her mother, who was constantly like, she would comment like, if you shoot her, if you film her, people won't want to get married to her, and all sort of things. So it was like we would like, but because we became friends with her, like me and Kai and Pooja, who were also in the shooting crew with her schedules, because we became friends, she was okay like going off with us to this one abandoned field and sitting there and shooting, while we were like hiding from her mother because her mother would see us filming her, and she wouldn't be okay with it. So yeah,
Yeah.
like,
I'm just here nodding and
but
soaking it all in. I just have to say, because, obviously Eric introduced me in the beginning, and I just tell our viewers that I'm just somebody who just really fell in love with the film when I saw it. And, when we were asked for recommendations as staff as to what to have in the festival, I said, please, this film, because it's such a journey, and both the subjects were just wonderful to watch and to experience things with. And I was wondering if y- you know and forgive me if you've answered this in some way already, but when during the filming, it being remote, and obviously just technical things are difficult anyway, I mean, but like prone to problems. But were there any times where any obstacles that you faced in getting the story made, and how did you push through, either of you?
Srishti?
oh, uh, you said like any obstacle in getting the
Yeah.
story made. Um, so this is like my first feature, like something that I've worked with like so long. So I, to be honest, like a lot of first time things were done in while making this, and we edited the film for 1.5 year almost. So
Wow.
Bhamati and I, yeah, 1.5 year, right? And then like maybe polishing took a few more months, maybe like
Yeah.
I, I
Bits and
can't.
pieces. Yeah. Yeah. It's taken in bits and pieces that much time. Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm.
So it was a figuring out a lot of things on the edit table, from structure to storyline was all figured out on the edit table. So yes, it was. It wasn't. I think it's it's a lot of fun to go shoot uh, with people, because you're also like, there's a lot of external energy that you are exchanging and meeting new people, and you're doing that. But like when you're sitting with just me and Bhamati sitting every day for like figuring out and working on the structure, I mean, of course it's amazing to have these characters, but like they're not in person, they're virtual, right? So
Mm.
yeah, so
Yeah.
it was a big journey. It was, yeah, I'm thankful that Bhamati was there to be doing this together.
Yes.
Wow.
So,
Wow.
Narendra is asking, particular challenges of making the film. Like, where did you stay when you were in the village, and do you have like trouble with like electricity or things like that?
Yes. um, yeah. Like electricity, yeah. I was, after the pandemic, I was living in the village for some time, and every morning I would be like, okay, I can start working at 10 a.m. But then 10 a.m. is when the electricity goes. So, so,
Wow.
Wow.
so it's that bad. It's even though like we have the biggest dam in the country, very close to where my village is. Still, the priority of the electricity would like go to the cities, to the mall. Like it doesn't come to
Mhm.
the villages that easily. That's not the priority of the government. And yeah.
Yeah.
Mm.
So were you able to stay at like your ancestral home, or do you have to travel from the city every day?
So actually, it's not. So the land is ancestral, but like my parents, our family made a house in 2011. Like it was mud house before. Now they've made a cement house, and but that's when my sister, like, because she used to live there, like my cousin sister used to live in the village, and then her temporary job got permanent and she left. So then she left the house which was
Okay.
made for her.
Great.
It's, I don't, I like, some of my friends thought that I was living in Leela Devi's house, but no, like I couldn't even charge the battery of my camera in that house, so no, I wasn't living in that house with her, but close to
Yeah.
it. Yeah.
Okay. So we have just a couple of minutes left. Um, what do you want viewers to get? What's the takeaway for you? What's the most important takeaway for you in terms for viewers?
Bhamati, you want to answer this, or we can take
Both.
turns? Yeah,
Yeah.
both can.
Go
Yeah.
ahead.
No, no, I'm thinking. I'm like,
um, I'm not from Uttarakhand, but because of the film, I kind of spent a fair amount of time, enough time to have built a sort of, I feel fondness for the state. And I think as a state, it's a beautiful landscape. But and it's also a very important state in the sense that it's got the Himalayan ranges. It's a ecologically very sensitive area, and in this migration are other layers of stories that are taking place. Why has farming not been sustainable anymore? Why do people have to leave their land and leave all of their farmland, and their sense of community and their belonging, and leave for a city because there are no prospects in the villages? And what is happening to this land, which is all going barren? We've had, like, in the last couple of years, Uttarakhand has had seen some severe wildfire, which is also there in the film. But now the scale at which it is kind of taking place, especially in these barren farmlands and forests, so it's an ecological and sociological crisis. So in that sense, to sort of course, it's a story of people and their lives, and sometimes it's about like how do they spend their everyday, what does loneliness feel like, and it's very universal. But to me, why I got drawn to the story is to use that very human story to tell this larger um, crisis that is unfolding in that region.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, Srishti?
I mean, yeah, like Bhamati said, it's the emotional connect and of like individuals that I'm looking for from audience, where they can relate or like they can feel themselves somewhere in this larger story, and like can work from there in terms of empathy, and like and can see also, because I feel like the story that Uttarakhand has, of course it's unique, but it's like it's also very universal. It's happening in China, it's
Agree.
happening in so many other countries. So like it's yeah, like whatever people can relate to and how see their own view world.
Yeah, thank you. So I want to thank both of you, Srishti and Bhamati, for taking time off your busy schedules to discuss your film with us tonight. Can you please tell us where we can find your work online and what your next projects are and how we can support that?
Oh. So there is a next project happening, and it's in since you've seen Tha Gaon, sorry, Once Upon a Village. Tha Gaon is the local name for it. Um, it's there's a docu fiction which is coming up, a short one about another girl which is from the neighboring village and her story. And so there's some incident event that she told me, and then I told Bhamati, and we were all very excited about it. So there's work happening on that. And again, like it's a story where it's an emotional journey of this one girl, but in a larger social context of what's happening. So yeah.
Wonderful. Bhamati, do you have a different project that you want to push or?
I'm currently, I am also interested. I also am interested in writing stories and kind of illustrating. So during my stay in Uttarakhand, I have been interested in the dam that Shrishti was talking about, the town of Tiri. So I was quite interested in the story over there about the village that got submerged, the town that got submerged as a result of the building of the dam. So I'm quite interested in the stories that I heard about the people remembering their village and their towns. So yeah.
Okay, wonderful. So I hope we'll see your work again at PATH in a year or two. And best of luck with these projects. So thank you
Thank
to
you.
everyone for attending our virtual Q&A today. Today is the last day of PATH 2021, but this is by no means the last event. In half an hour, there will be a Q&A about the PATH Picks Shorts program. Then at 2:30, there will be a panel on the road to social impact filmmaking. And then at 4, this is the moment we're waiting for, we'll be announcing the winners of this year's awards. And then our final Q&A will be at 6 p.m. Eastern Time, and we'll be talking about Andrew Chung's featured narrative, White Elephant. Our in-person closing night screening is sold out, but you can still rent a Sexplanation, which is our closing night film, and the film will be available until 7 p.m. tomorrow, streaming. So that is all for now. I'm Eric Hong, and with me is Chaitna, who's working on this moderating as well. So have a great afternoon. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks for having us. Bye.
Thanks.